Just gonna wait a couple minutes to see if anybody comes on. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. For those of you who haven't watched a live before, my name is Tracey Condosta, and I am one of the outpatient therapists here at Macon. This is actually my last live that I'll be doing with Macon, but I'm telling you that whoever is up doing it next is going to be absolutely amazing. But today I'm going to be talking about mental health in the workplace. This is something that is near and dear to my heart because, over the years, I've definitely experienced some negative mental health symptoms in the workplace. And so I'm definitely a huge advocate for this. Over the past few years, especially with the pandemic, there has been a little bit of a shift, which I think is good and bad all at the same time, right? But employees or employers are taking mental health a little bit more seriously, so that is a good thing. In the past, employees might have been finding themselves like stressed, burnt out, or depressed, which I am definitely one of those people who have experienced that in the past. One thing to note about negative um, mental health in the workplace is that it can absolutely snowball, right? So if one thing goes wrong, then another thing might be going wrong too. So, for example, let's say you had a disagreement with a coworker while at work, which made you really stressed out and you couldn't focus, and then you had to stay up late to finish your work for a deadline, and then you'll be absolutely exhausted the next day, which could lead to bad decision making. Total snowball effect, everything absolutely hits the fan, you know, and then that can just lead to an overall negative mood. And no one necessarily wants to be in a negative mood at work. But during the pandemic, many workers were able to work from home, which did provide a little bit of a better work life balance. Some people really hated working from home, though, especially for such an extended period of time, right? We're talking like 3 years. Um, you kind of need that social interaction with face to face for people. Um, over the past 3 years, our normal, if you want to even call it that, has drastically shifted. I would say that silver lining, if you can even call that, is that mental health has been more recognized. While more people are experiencing mental health troubles, more employers are recognizing it as well. Of course, for face value, it's really tough to even think about the number of people who've struggled with this pandemic. But now that we're coming out of it, there are still many individuals that need support, and that's okay. The silver lining piece is that employers are noticing and doing something about it. I mean, there's even awards that are given out for implementing mental health policies now within the workplace. So that's kind of why I wanted to talk about how you could advocate for mental health in your workplace, or even, have those coping strategies that you can do yourself. So I've noticed throughout my work that if a lot of employees don't ask about mental health in the workplace. Now, this might be because of nerves, or even they've never really even thought about mental health in the past at previous jobs. So having it come up now is kind of taboo, right? Um, But, maybe there's some benefits or services that are available to you or to employees in general. For one, that's a pretty common one, I would say, is an EAP. So, what is an EAP? An EAP, it stands for Employee Assistance Program. It's a work-based program that helps employees with personal or work-related issues that might be hurting their job performance or well-being. So, an EAP can encompass a lot of different things. It's provided to employees at no cost, and it can assist them with challenges, traumatic events, legal problems, wellness matters. It's just like there's a huge, broad range of issues that it can tackle. Typically, employees can access all of these different resources within the EAP online, phone, email, video, or face to face if that's what they're looking for. But of course, the very first step in all of this is asking your employer if there's any support for mental health. How do you do that? What would you even ask? Um, so let's say you're interviewing for a job, right? Um, at the end of the interview, typically they may ask, "Do you have any questions for me?" And this is a perfect time for you to ask, "Are there any mental health benefits, like an EAP or mental health days?" Of course, this can be absolutely terrifying to ask in an interview, but it might also be a form of advocacy as well, not only for yourself, but other employees that are there, making mental health noticed. Um, let's say you've already been at this job, right? And you're starting to notice some stress and anxiety and things like that. You could ask a coworker or a manager, I've never really asked, is there any benefits for employees for mental health? Uh, you know, I think no matter what, kind of starting the conversation can be really scary, but also kind of getting that ball rolling, there may be things available to you that you never thought were even there. Another question is, what if my employer doesn't offer anything for mental health? This is always a really sad question because more places should offer things for mental health and it should be taken more seriously. But, that all being said, there are some options. One being, you can ask your employer or your manager why there isn't anything for mental health or any mental health benefits. You could create your own mental health days. Take some time off for vacations, putting in that time for you to get that break. There's also mental health questionnaires that you can do on your own. These can help gauge how you're doing mentally if you aren't totally sure. Because, a lot of times we're kind of feeling just content, right? Or we're feeling blah or meh. And we're like, oh, well, nothing's actually wrong. But I don't think I'm necessarily happy either, right? We can kind of be in this weird sort of in between state. So that's where a mental health questionnaire, like a quick, 10 question thing, can kind of help sort some of those thoughts and feelings out. You can find these online. You could do a quick search. Of course, whenever you go to an office, like a mental health office like Macon, um, there are more in depth sort of questionnaires there as well. Another thing is to call the back of your insurance card. They can help you find support as well, something that's in network for you, so that you're able to, find that support that you really need, depending on what you're looking for. Next question is, can I promote mental health at work? So, yes, there are some things that you can do outside of work, but there's also things that you can do at work as well. For one, participating in an employer sponsored activities and programs. So, this might be a retreat, a luncheon, a ball game, even. I've seen that before. Um, Take a look to see what's offered at your job. I think with larger companies, there's um, more available, so to speak, but take the time to ask. it does build morale, and I think it's always a good thing to get involved in that way. The next thing is to share personal experiences with others. Maybe there's somebody at work that you've created a bond with, right? We kind of hear this term like work wife or work husband. Um, but maybe you're someone who does not want to mix work with personal life, and that's okay. That's whenever you could turn to friends, family, um, or it's always helpful to get a therapist involved too. You could adopt some coping skills in the workplace, some deep breathing, healthy communication, focusing on one task at a time, which I know can be very difficult, especially if you have a long to do list. But kind of getting into the practice of doing one thing at a time can seem less daunting and less anxiety provoking. And also using positive self talk. We can definitely get on this role of feeling bad about ourselves and thinking that we're not doing enough or um, we're not quick enough, we're not efficient enough. But kind of switching that around to saying, I am doing the best that I can. I am working as much as I can while creating that work life balance. Next is practicing some self care on lunch breaks. This might be listening to a podcast or watching a show, finding something that makes you laugh, um, meditating, deep breathing, or even going for a short walk outside. Next one is to take care of your physical health. That kind of gets looped in with taking a walk outside, but, you know, take some time to reflect here, right? Like, how often are you taking care of your physical health as well? That's other live, I think. But, you know, taking some time to think about that too. And the last is to nurture relationships, right? Whether you're um, nurturing relationships at work, with your family, with your kids, with your friends, it's important to take time for them as well. I think a lot of the times we are spending a whole lot of time focusing strictly on work. And so those other relationships might crumble a little bit. So it's important to foster the relationships that you do have and even create new ones. So I think some key takeaways from this live is that mental health is important in and out of the workplace. Work life balance matters. Setting those boundaries is something that is so important, right? It's okay to ask your employer about mental health benefits. It's new, it's different, but they're there. Maybe not everybody has them, but it's something to start, asking those questions and starting the conversation. And of course, trying those self care techniques that you can do at work. Again, these might be a little weird to do at first, right? Doing new things can sometimes feel uncomfortable, but those benefits of doing that self care can really bring down those stress levels and calm you down. And of course, asking for help, right? Going to a therapist and getting some guidance and support is never a bad thing. Yes, balance. Love it. Sorry, I just saw Devin's comment there, and I completely agree. Balance is so important. So we do have therapists ready and available for you to connect with. So feel free to reach out today or tomorrow or whenever it works for you. Getting some help and getting some guidance and some confidence boosting to start that conversation in your workplace um, is a great thing to do. So thank you so much for checking in today. It's a beautiful day here in Pittsburgh. I think I'm going to go sit outside and do some of my own self care. Have a great rest of your night. Thanks, guys.